Hi, friends. Host Eric here. Host talking with as usual. I stayed up all night watching Harley Quinn the animated series, and I gotta tell you, the beginning of the first 2 minutes of season two, episode 5, is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. It's absolutely just astonishingly good writing. It's so funny and it's so apropos, incredibly good writing. I mean, the whole show, I like it a lot. I would say, in general, it's good. It's clever. It's not as, it's pretty great. It's pretty damn great. But the thing that really struck out to me was the first 2 minutes of season two, episode 5, which is like two beardy nerd dudes, two beardy NTPs talking shit about Harley Quinn, kind of. At least one of them is. Anyway, that's where I am in the series right now. I started watching and then I decided to just turn the live stream. I just stayed up all night long. Why? No good reason. No particular reason. I guess you could say it's just how I roll. Started watching that show, got into it, watched it, just binged it. And I'm watching it all night long. The thing is, it's not at all the reduction. It's not. It's so much more than the reductive dismissal that it makes fun of at the beginning of season 2, episode 5. It's a great show. I love it. Actually, somebody recommended it in the live stream. People give me great suggestions in the live streams, and that's how come I know about the show existed at all. And I had to get DC Universe to get it, but that's fine. I wish I hadn't rubbed my eyes after petting Kitty. That was dumb. That's how I get itchy eye syndrome. Anywho, it's what, Thursday the 2nd? I think I'm gonna probably call the doctor today and get him to re-prescribe my meds, because might be a little early, but with the 4th, it makes sense for me to call it in a little early. If I have to wait a day and get it tomorrow, maybe that'll be fun. Getting feed again. It's always nice to go back on cycle, but part of the reason is my sleeping schedule is just so completely out of whack when I'm not doing any amphetamines. Like this morning, I stayed up all night long, just watching cartoons all night long. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's great. Hi, Raphael. You always count on Raphael. You know, he's reliable like that. He's gonna show up. He's gonna spell things wrong. Gonna start shit. Get indignant. You know, my usual Thursday morning. I'm gonna finish this cigarette and then I'm gonna pull some bong rips. I can't say they're my first bong rips of the day because I've been up all night, but I haven't pulled that many bong rips over the course of the night, really. Inching closer every day to 6,000 subscribers. It says 5.99K. Well, it's actually 5,989. But I have been within spitting distance of 6,000 for about a year. And I may actually get there at this point. That'll be exciting. I don't know if anything happens when you get 6,000. Probably nothing. But there's already stuff I could do that I don't do that I should turn on, you know. I like YouTube. I think YouTube's being nicer to me than it used to be too. Smoking these things, that's a tough one. I can go without weed for a few days. That's easy enough. I've done that plenty of times when I travel. Weed's easy to stop smoking, but cigarettes, no. Cigarettes, I'm genuine. This is like the only thing that I've ever been genuinely addicted to. Even when I was an alcoholic, I wasn't addicted to alcohol. Not the way I am to cigarettes. I just couldn't. I just couldn't successfully manage alcohol consumption. But yeah, the only thing I can truly say that I'm addicted to is cigarettes. Cigarettes, if I go about 5 or 6 hours, without one, then I start getting pretty fussy. And, I did quit for 10 years. I smoked from age 17 to age 21. Then I quit from age 21 to 31. And then during my first divorce, I started smoking cigarettes again. Surprisingly, not really a decision I regret. Oddly. Maybe it should be, but it's just part of who I am. I'm a smoker. And, once I quit drinking, I've quit a lot of things that I used to do. But as a consequence, it's hard to quit the remaining ones that I can sustain and don't mess up my life. Because I feel like I deserve them. I've sacrificed or given up lots of other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, could I quit smoking cigarettes if I genuinely thought it was absolutely necessary for my survival or something? Yeah, probably. But if in the other circumstances, I don't think so. I would say I'm very addicted to cigarettes. Like, as addicted as you can get, pretty much. Yeah, I know I'm not addicted to weed because there are long times where I'll forget about smoking weed. And so that's one way, I'm not addicted to it. Well, I mean, of course I think it's not necessary. If I thought it was necessary, then I guess I would try to quit. But there's no other reason why it would be necessary except for survival, right? So if I were told, like, oh, you have emphysema, I'd probably quit smoking cigarettes anyway. Well, there's a difference between something's unhealthy and something's going to kill you in the immediate future. People say smoking's unhealthy, but lots of people who smoke die of other things. What I'm saying is, if for some reason I were convinced that if I continued to smoke, I was going to die in the short-term future, then I would have a very different reason. I have a different set of circumstances and would consider the question differently, I suppose. But yeah. Well, why else would you think I should quit smoking cigarettes? Yeah, when I oh okay, I was wondering, you know, it's like with weed. Uh, Sometimes, like I said, I'll forget about it and not smoke it for many hours, and then remember, like, oh hey, I could go pull some bars. So you're not addicted to it if that happens. I mean, the other thing is, I don't think smoking is as dangerous as people generally think it is. People have this weird, totally unjustified perception of cigarettes as being deadly or whatever, but they're not that deadly, obviously, or I'd be dead. Why do it? Well, like I said, I'm addicted to them. And the more you smoke cigarettes, the stronger the SI associations you build up. No, it means you're not addicted to eating. That it's not an addiction for you. There are people who are addicted to food who probably turn to food every time they, like, every time I'm at a stoplight for too long, I pull out a cigarette and smoke it. If you're addicted to food, that would mean like every time you're at a stoplight too long, you pull out a Snickers bar and start munching on it. But food's obviously a different question than something like cigarettes, because food's a biological need for all human beings. So while it's possible to be addicted to it, it's not possible to abstain from it. That's the difference. It is possible to abstain from cigarettes or marijuana and still survive. So everybody's dependent on food, but they're not all addicted to food. Those are different questions. Well, with food, I mean, whether you want to feel it or not, if you're hungry, you're gonna feel hungry, right? I mean, it's not like you can ignore being hungry forever. Eventually, you'll starve to death. But things rising to the top you don't want to feel or solve. So you think addiction is an avoidance of feelings or solvings? Why? Why would you think that? I mean, like, what? Why prefer that reason over some other reason? Do you have any justification for that, or is it just a random claim? I mean, it's a habit. People develop habits for different reasons. Um, Habits are certainly a way to self-soothe, but just because you're self-soothing doesn't mean you don't want to feel or you don't want to solve. It just means you're engaging in self-soothing. In my experience with weed, if anything, it rather strongly correlates with a willingness and an interest in solving or getting stuff done. Anyway, it enables me to get stuff done in the sense that it settles me into what I'm doing a little bit. It makes it so that I'm less ADHD about stuff. A little bit more chill, I guess. Doesn't make a big difference, but makes a little bit of a difference. The thing is, it's not desirable to attain a manner of life that is less comfortable or less conducive to one's own peace and happiness. So for me, maybe because of particulars, in other words, my own personal history with the substances, maybe because of my own personal history with other substances, or maybe just because it's how I am or something, I find that life goes more smoothly when I have my habits. No. I mean, first of all, Raphael, compensating for an obstacle you seemingly can't overcome is solving things, right? Well, I haven't. Okay, well, you don't take Adderall or Ritalin. That's fine. Good for you. I'm not encouraging you to take drugs. I'm not making normative statements about you not taking drugs. You're making normative statements about me taking them or people taking them in general. I'm trying to apply your experience to other people, but, that's just not the case. Like, I wasn't even talking about Adderall. I was talking about marijuana, calming me down a little bit, settling me into something. Basically, I think about live streaming and I think, well, how fun is it going to be? No, I address it with the drug. Why is that not solvency? Just because it's a drug. Why doesn't it count as a tool of solvency? After all, I'm just having a conversation too. After all, it does address the thing that you're talking about. In fact, it's the most solvency-minded approach one can possibly imagine taking towards that. So why wouldn't it qualify as solvency? Why doesn't it count as a method of facing something rather than a way of avoiding it? Why do you insist it maintain this normatively inferior status of avoidance rather than a strategy of facing? Well, I'm asking you. You haven't established any reason to conclude that it's not a desirable strategy, or that it's not an equal strategy to whatever alternative you're proposing. So there's no reason to conclude that. I don't need to establish it's desirable. You need to establish there's something wrong with it. Which, after all, that it works is indisputable. And since we're talking in a TE frame, that's really the only thing that matters. I know it's tough sledding around here, Raphael. You're doing a good job of bringing a lot of negation. I mean, of being a good foil, but okay, first of all, whether or not I am habituated to doing this behavior is not inherently a reason to think it's good or bad. Okay. Also, I've already indicated to you I'm not addicted to marijuana. You choose to use the word dependent to try to split the difference, but it's not going to work because you're just trying to split the difference. There's no reason to conclude that my expenses are not wise. I certainly don't feel as though I spend money unwisely. I'm happy with my choice of expenses. And the side effect you claim of me being unreasonable for my emotions is completely unsubstantiated and contraindicated by the evidence. So, I mean, the evidence is right in front of you. There's nothing unreasonable about me. Yep, that's a solution. What's the difference what's wrong with your analogy here, though, of course? What I'm doing is not rights violating, and in your example, what the person does is rights violating. So there's a moral prohibition against it. Whereas you've not provided any reason to think that what I'm doing is wrong at all. Well, you have provided some reasons, but they're completely false. The notion that the side effect of being unreasonable for your emotions, you've not established that, and the evidence, as I said, is right in front of your face. I'm not unreasonable at all. I'm the most reasonable person you've ever met. Whether or not it's a good expense is my business, not yours. If you smoke, you just don't give a fuck because you feel great as it is. There's no need to move on from that. I mean, I don't need to establish that I have a need to smoke marijuana to justify it. You need to come up with some reason why it's bad. You're trying to put the burden on me, but the burden's on you. You're trying to say there's something wrong with it. So you need to establish what that is. You failed to do so. And in fact, you're ignoring also the other important thing is you're ignoring what I'm saying, which is you've already thrown out multiple false claims, multiple irrelevant claims, and you just want to sever those. You want to sever from those. Those were all false. No, I don't agree with your claim because it's attempting to put the burden on me, right? First of all, you say if you smoke, you just don't give a fuck because you feel great as it is. There's no need to move on from that. So I'm not sure what your claim is, but your claim that I just don't give a fuck is false, if that's what you're making a claim to. If you're saying if I felt fine the way I was and I wouldn't smoke weed, like I said, it's a habit of mine. I'm habituated to it, and I like to smoke weed. Doesn't mean I don't feel fine. It means I like to smoke weed. You can't conclude that there's something wrong with me because I like to smoke weed. You're begging the question. Raphael, it's the only adequate reason to smoke weed because I like to. That's all the reason I need. You need to establish something wrong with it. You keep trying to put the burden on me and do other argumentational bullshit, but no, you're not going to get away with it. Raphael, I smoke weed because I like to smoke weed. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. You're trying to establish some sort of normative claims about it, and you're not going to succeed because you know what, Tiberius Mononoke? You've got to see. One of the greatest things I've ever seen is the first 2 minutes of season 2, episode 5, in which the show just completely shreds you and tears you to fucking pieces. And it's hilarious. People like you and the kind of like woman-hatey shit you bring in is sort of couched in intellectual language, but is motivated improperly. They tear you to fucking pieces. And the first 2 minutes of season 2, episode 5 is absolutely brilliant. I'm a happy person because I'm doing what I want to do instead of listening to Raphael. Well, watch it then, Tiberius. Tough guy. What are you trying to establish here, Raphael? You've not established anything yet. That's the problem here. You keep wanting me to do your work for you. If you want to establish smoking weed is bad, establish that it's bad. You keep trying to get me to do your work for you. You've made a bunch of false points. You've not mentioned those after I completely shredded them. You've been like, just walked right away from them as though you never made those points. A little problem we call severance in debate. For various, you're not a true anti-groupist. You're a groupist who's playing groupism against people you think are anti-groupist in ways that you don't like. And Raphael's not winning shit. What kind of argument is... I mean, now you've lost all your credibility, Tiberius. If you can't be objective about that. I'm not trying to advocate anybody else to smoke weed. I'm not trying to say that it's a good thing to smoke weed or a bad thing to smoke weed. I'm saying it's not a moral issue. It's the same thing for me, basically, as smoking cigarettes, which is to say a way of self-soothing and a habit. I enjoy the familiarity of it. I'm an SI user. I think based on your current level of argumentation, it's probably a bad thing. What do you think is wrong with my current level of argumentation? I mean, I just explained, I just answered this question. I don't advocate for it for anybody. I'm not saying other people should smoke weed. Other people want to take a normative position about it. My point is, it's their burden to establish there's something wrong with it. Nothing wrong with my level of argumentation. And you continue to lose credibility by negating what's objectively so. I mean, really? Tiberius? You sure about that? Because I am making perfectly reasonable points, perfectly cogent points. You've not negated anything I've said successfully. You just seem to be, I think you know. Hi, Lawnmower. How are you? We're having a contentious morning here, but, that's to be expected. Why do some people take heroin and other people don't? Well, I mean, you could boil down addictions to either a dopamine or a serotonin management problem, if you want to make it clinical. So I guess if you want me to be clinical about that way in myself, you would say that marijuana and cigarettes are ways that I manage my dopamine levels. Whether or not I should manage my dopamine levels is a question that the answer to which, to me, seems, if I want to, the answer is yes, and that applies to everybody, at least consenting adults. But the point is to try to reduce it to a behavior that's inherently bad because you can point to presumably objective negative impacts of it, like cost, which is a true negative impact. I mean, at least that's a legitimate negative impact. But of course, to make those arguments, you have to ignore the agency and autonomy of every individual person to make those decisions for themselves. You can't make arguments that marijuana is bad because it's a bad way for me to spend my money. I mean, okay, well, vacations are bad because it's a dumb way for you to spend your money, or whatever you spend your money on. Why do I get to say what's a good way for you to spend your money? So it's very much a subjective thing. It's like, For some people, they function best while actively managing their either the dopamine or serotonin, depending on what kind of drugs they're tending to do. Some people let it run away with them. Some people can manage some drugs and not others. Like me, I can be more successful in life, or at least more happy, more content, because well, but see, you're begging the question, Raphael. You've not established that it's bad. In fact, I'm saying it's good. It's good for me to be happier and more complete because I'm doing what I want to do instead of trying to constrain myself because some random third party makes unsubstantiated claims that it's bad what I'm doing. I'm not going to internalize your normative frame because you've not substantiated it at all. Boy, I tell you, Raphael, I don't think you ever do anything but attack. Yes, but this is the thing, Raphael. Of course, those things are good, and that's why instead of just agreeing with you, I'm saying you have work to do, sir. Before you come here and present your case, you have to do some work. You come in here sloppy, unprepared, winging it, throwing out bullshit, hoping something sticks, right? And then you're accusing me of not accepting the truth. You've not established any truth. I do think that you're doing a good job in general of being a foil, of trying to being a devil's advocate. It provides me good opportunities to argue, but you have to be honest. I'm saying the argumentational work, Raphael. You haven't done the argumentational work. You don't have a good set of arguments to establish what you're saying. And then you ask me because you want me to do your work. You want me to defend something you've failed to attack successfully. Well, I don't need to defend it. You failed to attack it successfully. If you all fall in the moat and get eaten by the alligators, I didn't say you were dishonest. I said you said things that were false. You said things that were wrong, and then you ignored those things when I called them out. Well, for example, you said that marijuana makes me, what was the expression exactly? If you smoke, you just don't give a fuck because you feel great as it is. There's no need to move on from that. I've already established that I certainly don't. It's certainly not the case that I just don't give a fuck. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here arguing with you, obviously. You've also said weed has the side effect of being unreasonable for your emotions. But it's obviously not the case. The evidence is right in front of you. I say you were dishonest? Did I? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. You're dishonest in asking the question, is personal growth or accepting the truth good? You're being dishonest in your argumentation because you're begging the question again. You're assuming the things you're saying that it's bad, right? That's the dishonest part. No, because you can decide on doing bad stuff, and I don't want to exert control over that because it's your choice. Again, we're discussing whether or not this thing is actually bad. You're trying to make the claim that it is, but you failed to substantiate that. So for argumentation purposes, it's not been substantiated. You can't act as though it has. That's being dishonest. I mean, it's minor dishonesty, but certainly it is being dishonest. Okay, well, Tiberius, you're certainly welcome to leave. Of course, the thing is, you're projecting wildly here. I'm not gaslighting at all. I'm making perfectly reasonable arguments. I'm not advocating for marijuana. I'm not trying to gaslight anybody. I'm not saying drug use is good. You're claiming it's bad. I'm saying it's not a moral issue. And I'm saying if you want to claim it's bad, substantiate that claim. Who am I gaslighting, Tiberius? Who am I trying to convince that they're crazy? I'm not trying to convince anybody that they're crazy. And the only reason you feel wrong is because I pointed out that you're wrong. You don't like that. And so you're just throwing random attacks at me without substantiating anything because you're very, very weak. And this is the sort of thing I get from you, Raphael. You keep ignoring my words. I've made this clear on multiple points. You're the one making the claim, not me. Don't try to get me to do your work. You do your work. No, Tiberius, you haven't substantiated anything. Substantiation would be something like when you said that I think based on your current level of argumentation is probably a bad thing. You would give me an example of a bad argument I made. For example, Eric, when you said me, that's an example of a fallacy. Something like that. That would be substantiation. See, the reason I'm saying you don't substantiate anything is because you don't even try to substantiate anything. You just talk out your ass. I don't care, Tiberius, that you don't like me. You're welcome to leave. I encourage you to. If you're not happy here and you don't like being here, okay, anytime somebody tells me this, I've debated you time to time and you're full of shit, it means they have never won. They've never won. Well, I mean, you say that this is why people don't like you, but you can only make that claim for yourself. So I'm just assuming you don't like me, right? I'm assuming you include yourself in people, right? Or no? No, I just did, actually, Tiberius. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You don't include yourself in people? You do like me, but other people don't? Is that your claim, Tiberius? No, then correct me if I'm wrong. Is that your claim? That you like me, but other people don't like me? That's your claim? If so, I stand corrected. Tiberius, is that your claim? If so, I stand corrected. If not, I don't. Is that your claim? No, I just did. I said your claim is either one or the other. And I'm asking you now to answer a direct question about your claim. So go ahead and answer it. Okay, so then, but the point is either we have one of two possibilities. Either you like me and other people don't, or people including you don't like me. So, okay, fine. If you like me and other people don't, then I'd ask you, why do you suppose you like me even though other people don't? And if in fact the case is that you're among those people, then I was right, wasn't I? No, I gave you the opportunity to correct me, remember? So I said, just if you want to correct me, tell me this and I'll stand corrected. Do you understand what I'm saying? Argumentation is a back and forth, okay? So you're right. If, in fact, you were to answer the question, then you would have been right about that and I would have been wrong. Since you won't answer the question, it's still up in the air as to whether I was right or wrong about it. Was it an assumption? Yes, assumptions can be correct. So the answer is you get to decide whether I'm correct or not. And right now you're trying to refuse to do so. And that's fine, but you got to understand that's just being weak. You're not winning, you're just being weak. Okay? Tiberius, you could be correct, remember? I'm giving you the opportunity to prove me incorrect or correct. You're right in the moment that until I asked you the question, I hadn't done the work necessary to substantiate. But since I did ask you the question, it's specific and direct about your claim. I have now done the work and the ball's in your court. You can either answer it or not. Regardless, I've done the work now. And once again, you lose. It has no causal link, Eric. You can observe people not liking you or not liking you while liking you or not liking you. I agree it has no causal link. If I was incorrect to assume that the people he meant included him, then I stand corrected. And if I was correct in that assumption, then I don't stand corrected. And if he doesn't want to answer the question, then we never know. That's fine. I don't move on constantly. I answer everything you say, Tiberius, just as I'm answering this. I don't move on constantly. You're just making personal attacks that aren't substantiated by anything that's legitimate because you're so hateful and jealous. I can observe the dislike ratio of the general comments in chat without taking my own equations into equation. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not trying to dispute that people don't like me. Which one of my arguments are you trying to dispute here? Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, Winston's mom. Tiberius is pretty spiteful. Because his statement was, people don't like me. So I said, he didn't like me. He said, you didn't substantiate that. I said, you're right. So I'll ask you the question to do the work I need to do. Did you mean to include yourself when you said people or not? If you did mean to include yourself, I was right. If you didn't, I was wrong. And he said, ha, you failed to substantiate it. I already conceded that. So I asked the question to do the work that I failed to do. Now I have done that work. That's how it works. Season 2, episode 5, Tiberius. I hope you actually did watch it. That's great if you did, because you can't help but learn something from it, whether you want it or not. Yeah. I'm watching Harley Quinn animated series, and I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. But the thing that got me to stop and start live streaming about it was season 2, episode 5. The first 2 minutes of it, I stopped right there and I said, okay, I start live streaming now. And it was serendipitous because, of course, it brilliantly makes fun of a certain kind of person. And lo and behold, who should show up right away in the stream but Tiberius, who's exactly the kind of person the beginning of that episode makes fun of. And so I pointed that out, and he's been on the warpath since. What's on schedule for today? Shit, I don't even know, man. I stayed up all night long watching this show. I went to bed with Rachel at a normal time, tried to go to sleep, and I acknowledge that, Tiberius, you're ignoring my words again. You're such a little shit. For Christ's sakes, I did the work, though, to substantiate. Asking you the question directly about your warrant is doing the work to substantiate. If you don't answer it, then the ball's back in my court. I get to choose which answer you make. That's how shit works, dummy. My goodness. No, we didn't watch Shazam. We started listening to the third book in the Wheel of Time series instead, Dragon Reborn. And I knew we went to bed, but I couldn't go to sleep. I got up. I came out here. I remember somebody suggested the Harley Quinn animated series. So I went and figured out, first I had to try to see where I could watch it for free. Couldn't figure that out, so I just got it on the DC universe. It's like $8 a month or something. No, I acknowledge that I failed to substantiate that you necessarily meant to include yourself in the word people until I asked you the question, at which point I did the work to substantiate the claim or to be corrected. You want to pretend as though there's no back and forth in debate. I'm not always right. I can be corrected. But the thing is, the thing that you don't seem to get is that for you to be right, you actually have to correct me. Dum-dum. You have to answer the question and correct me, or else you're not correct. God, what a POS, huh? No, I like both of them quite a bit. I mean, I don't necessarily like either of them. I like certain things. The Harley Quinn show is really entertaining. No, we're not talking about that anymore. Tiberius, actually, we're not talking about that anymore. I'm done talking to you. You're just being a shitty little prick. I don't really have any preference necessarily inherently. I just like certain shows, movies, whatever. I'm not going to waste my time arguing about minutia with Tiberius, who only wants to try to win some little point and somehow shit on me or whatever. Well, fuck off. Go away. I don't like you. Was that clear enough? Was that muddled? Was my message muddled? Well, I was clear. Anyway, yeah, I've been watching a lot of good media lately and listening to good media. The Dragon Reborn, of course, exciting book. We listened to a few chapters of that. I mean, I'm kind of spending my day doing that, I guess. Live streaming and listening and watching media. Just because I'm annoyed. Because he's not engaged in real discourse. Okay? He's just being a little prick. So I just felt like it. That's why. And I can and I want to, and that's it. Not everything has to be TI justified. For FI reasons, that's why I timed him out. I felt like it. I don't like him. How about that? Is that a good reason? You know, it's like everybody expects me to justify absolutely everything, be perfectly fair about absolutely everything, be willing to have any arguments at the end of time. Fuck off, Raphael. Hey, I tell you what, buddy. Everybody expects me to be so decent and fair and let everybody just say all their bullshit and to argue everyone's bullshit to the nth fucking degree. Well, you know, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Okay? Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. That's something people have done, of course, in my life. Like I said, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. It's not hypocrisy. I never promised to be to argue every bullshit argument to the nth fucking degree that anybody wants to bring, to put up with people hating and being spiteful and stupid. I've never agreed to do that. I have no obligation to do that. Nobody's established such an obligation. I don't know how they would go about establishing such an obligation. This is my YouTube channel. So, you know, those who don't like it can do what? Can you guess what you can do? You can take a long walk off a short pier. You can go fly a kite. Because Virginia is for lovers. Okay? But I'm not going to just let you sit around here and throw trash around my house, so to speak, indefinitely, you know? At some point, it will begin to annoy me enough that I'll just say, fuck off. And that's perfectly reasonable. Because it is true, those people that I timed out were at that point just throwing trash on my table. I got tired of arguing with them about whether or not it was trash and telling them to pick it up. So I timed them the fuck out, like any sane human being would do. Look, there's nothing un-TI justified about me timing these people out either. like I said, I'm not avoiding legitimate arguments at any point. Legitimate arguments are arguments in which people don't just bounce from negation to negation, don't have a bunch of unsubstantiated personal attacks. If they're going to say, don't gaslight and project and say, Eric's argumentation is bad when it's really your own argumentation that's bad and you don't have any explanation of the thing. Don't say I'm full of shit without being able to provide any good reason for it. Those sort of things are not legitimate discourse. And so to the extent that I allow it at all, it's out of my good graces, and people are lucky I don't hide their asses rather than just time them out. I mean, the thing is, when you're judging people's arguments for legitimacy, you have two means to judge, both the legitimacy of the argument and the intentionality of the argument. And that's legitimate too, but it's subjective in the sense that I can't necessarily defend those on TI grounds, but I know whether somebody's well-intentioned or whether they're poorly intentioned. Clearly, Tiberius is very poorly intentioned. He wasn't making any kind of legitimate arguments about anything. He was just talking shit about me, right? So, of course, I'm going to time his ass out. Why wouldn't I? He's just heckling, basically. People come in here so combative because I'm willing to put up with a fair amount of it, But they forget that they go to combat at my pleasure, It's not like I like being autocratic. It's just how it is. There's just no reason to let in guests who do nothing but shit on the carpet. I mean, INTJs, they come in different flavors, Winston's mom's a pretty nice INTJ. Very nice. She's a very nice lady, Why do you have to justify your deeds if you're speaking the truth? You wouldn't have to. What are you talking about? If I was speaking the truth, it would mean I would justify them. But if I'm not speaking the truth, then I would try to not justify them. Right? Words are used to justify both behaviors and conclusions. I try to hold people responsible for both. I try to hold myself responsible. You're trying to hold me responsible right now using your words. I don't necessarily want to stop it. I just have control over the amount of it I want to put up with and what kind of questions I want to answer. There's certain kind of, I don't mind answering fluffy TV. I mean, the funny thing is, the question, why do you have to justify your deeds? It's asking me to justifying my deeds. Why do I have to justifying my deeds? No, yes, you are weak, Tiberius. I'm going to time you out again just because I enjoyed it last time. And sit here and talk about how it's okay to ban me because I annoy you, but I don't argue right. But I didn't ban you. I timed you out, Raphael. I did not ban you. I gave you a 5-minute timeout. Okay? So that's the thing. Nobody got banned. I'm timing people out, not banning them. Okay, well, Tribrow, I don't put people on timeout because I'm emotionally weak and can't handle criticism. I handle legitimate criticism just fine. I just don't feel like, as I've indicated, having guests here whose only purpose and desire is to shit on me, as is yours, clearly. Because I'm special. I'm special, Caleb K. I have people just they are determined to take me down a notch, right? I'm perceived as too arrogant, too pedantic, and that I am, I'm frustratingly correct. In other words, I'm right. I'm loud about it. I'm not humble about it, and I'm not effie inclusive about it necessarily. And people absolutely hate that, and they want to take me down a notch. There's people I beat time and time and time and time again. They come in here and try to argue with me. I beat them, and they're just seething. They're just absolutely fucking seething. But yeah, what are you gonna do? I've actually had a great. Yesterday was fantastic. Last night was great. Staying up all night watching those cartoons. It's like I've never seen. I really feel like I feel this after every time Rachel and I fight or have this monthly problem for breaking up with me or whatever. Okay, but Gunther, listen. See, now that's what's going to get you timed out again, saying pussy. I'm not going to do it, but there's no reason to call me that name. I'm not a pussy. I have always answered all of your questions. Okay? Oh, good. Hi, Ruse Moose. I know who you are. I can tell by the way you write. You're not better at this particular line of argumentation than I am. I've won all these substantive points. Okay. Well, then, to whom was the word pussy directed? Gunther. I didn't say I couldn't understand what you said. I said I knew it was you by how you wrote. For God's sakes. It's like you said the word pussy. To whom was it directed? I did read it, fucktard. For God's sakes. It says, I don't assume at Winston's mom. I don't assume I know better than anyone else just because Eric, but it's better than Eric in this particular line of work. I see it's at Winston's mom. Oh, Winston's mom's not a pussy. She's not scared of you. It's ridiculous. Okay, you're right. You're right, though. You didn't call me one. My mistake. You were correct. You win that point. You win the point, Gunther. You win the point. For God's sakes, you are such a pain in the ass, Raphael. You've not been banned, by the way. You can go back to being Raphael, for God's sakes. All I did was put you on timeout. That's what it means to be a pussy, Gunther. Is to be scared. Ay, ay, ay. Raphael, you are such a pain in the ass. You know that, right? You're like the world's biggest pain in the ass. Now, what did somebody say about this stream? This is a funny stream. I agree, Leroy. This is a funny stream. Yeah, like when Rachel said to you, yeah, because you're always right. Sarcastically. I get that reaction from people in my life. Well, what am I going to say? I'm not always right, but pretty much, I can't help it. What do you want me to do? Be wrong? Okay. Lear A is going to win this diction point. But I want to ask Raphael if that's what he meant. If he was trying to say Winston's mom is just a coward in general, but not scared at this moment. Is that what you meant, Raphael? Or are you going to pull a Tiberius and not answer the question? It's like, of course I can acknowledge that I might be wrong about something. It's like Tiberius, like, you were wrong to say that because I said people, I admit myself too. I'm like, okay, that's true. That's an assumption. So was it correct or not? He just refused to answer the question. The point is, the assumption was wrong. No, the assumption is wrong, or maybe it's right, depending on your answer to the question. Obviously, like, no, I don't read comic books. I'm not that visual. I'm kind of tired, I guess, sort of. She's not abusing you. That's bullshit. You're really treading the line here, Raphael. I'm gonna not time you out at the moment, but just no. That you've totally that's totally inadequate in justifying the name calling. Don't call her a pussy. I'll try not to call you a fucktard and stuff like that. Okay. I'm really trying to not to nix the name calling. Okay, now stop. Don't your little distinctions you draw between whether you're saying something, accusing, suggesting, or whatever, it don't matter at all. Okay, so you can just forget that nonsense. You're being combative as usual, and I'm telling you, there's a line here, and don't cross it. I mean, it's not like you'll get the death penalty or anything, but using? Well, what is accusing. I see. Accusing, not abusing. All right. Okay. Well, she didn't accuse you of anything, did she? What'd she say? God, why do you have to fight about absolutely everything? Why? What did she say? She didn't even say anything. She didn't even say anything. Okay, well, so she wasn't accusing you. She didn't say anything. How could she accuse you of anything? No, listen to me, Raphael. You're not being precise. You're being precisely wrong. How did she accuse you of anything? She didn't say anything to you. That's not precise. That's wrong. Ay, ay, ay. You're totally not precise with your words. You said she accused you of something, but she said nothing about you at all. Raphael, if I don't see a chat, I assure you, it is not because I am illiterate. I have scrolled up here. I've seen everything. That she said. Oh, yeah, she did say one thing to you. Okay. Rafael Alvarez, and people say INTJs are arrogant. She said, I'm never intentionally arrogant enough to assume I know more than anyone else about everything. She didn't say anything about you. She directed a comment about herself to you. That's it. That's all she did. You made me scroll up and read all that shit for nothing. You're still wrong. For God's sakes. Okay, well, if you're just trolling to have laughs and making me be responsive to your combativeness, I will just have to ignore you. Okay, well, you keep laughing, Raphael. All right. Sorry, Bruce Moose, for ignoring your words so far. I've been busy yelling at home fries. I'm glad that people are suing the state concerning the COVID emergency decree that is in opposition to the Constitution. How is the trial going? I would like to know. They avenged the judge? You mean they like savaged him or something? Did they? You mean like those suing the state did a good job of trashing the opposition? Is that what you're trying to say? That makes me happy if that's the case. I mean, it's about time the right arguments started coming out. You know, I'm sickened by the state of the marketplace of ideas. The thing is, Aaron, I generally don't. Of course, people like whatever their name was, Tribrow or something. We use any instance of that to call me a hypocrite, and any instance where I don't conform to that norm to call me a hypocrite and all kinds of names or whatever. Oh, I see. So did she rescind herself? Did she say, okay, fine, you get a new judge, or what? Why don't they get to ask the state questions? Why don't the plaintiffs get to ask questions? Why is the judge asking questions? God, the rest of the world is criminal justice dumb. Hypocrisy is behaving in a way that's different than you speak. I don't think anything I've done with Rachel is hypocritical. I advocate in favor of, as I used to say, infinite second chances. I've mitigated from that somewhat, but that's sort of my original state of affairs. Why is that inconsistent? So how is that hypocrisy? You're just wasting my time. You're not even doing anything worthwhile here. The oldest customer complaint dates back to ancient Mesopotamia and the nearly 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablet. A customer claims he was sold inferior copper ingots. Yeah, he sure did, Isaiah. Oh yeah, we got to like 36,000 was the winner, Isaiah. The legal system over here is that there's a separate room for challenge requests that have to decide if she isn't impartial and can be swapped for another judge. Okay. I'm feeling tired now. I stayed up all night watching this cartoon. I guess I'm going to go to bed now. I'm sure I'll live stream again soon enough. Thanks for being here. Bye.